Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn connects you with experts from all over the world to help you take charge of your career, your business, and your life. Rap along with us. Visit drjacalyn.com to learn how to become a guest or a sponsor. And now, the doctor is in.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining us from in the world. We're so happy to have you here on USA Global TV. You are watching Celebrate Great Britain Royally Rich Show. I am Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and the stars of our show are backstage in Pelham Turner and Helena Chard. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Good morning.
Can you believe it's another week has gone by already since we saw each other?
Well, isn't it flying? It's amazing, isn't it? But it's monsoon season in London.
Oh no!
It's coming down in torrents. In fact, it's just stopped. So you've obviously brought the sunshine with you this afternoon.
Well, I try to do that. I'm sorry.
Sunny with you, I guess.
It is absolutely magnificent. It's 80-some degrees. My mom is out walking on the beach, and it's just a beautiful day. I'm here in the dark in the green screen area, but she's out enjoying the weather.
Which is good. And we've had some very good news for Americans. Just in the past hour, it's now been announced by Boris Johnson, our Prime Minister, that Americans can come back to Britain and they won't be put into any type of isolation or quarantine when they come in, provided you've had two jabs.
2 jabs. You have to be double jabbed.
You have to be double jabbed. But if you have that, so that is probably the most important bit of American UK news on things like the Olympics.
I think so. But also just to say, because obviously with UK tourism, we're losing so many thousands of pounds, hundreds of thousands of pounds each day. So to have people coming in to the UK, Great Britain is, well, we all need it.
Apparently the figures that I was hearing this morning is that Great Britain is losing £600,000 a day.
Oh my gosh.
Amazing,
because Americans are not coming back.
Well, they are now. They are now.
They will be now. We want your dollars. We want your cents.
Guess what? I've been double jabbed, so I'm making my plans to come.
Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, goodness. So we thought we'd just have a little chat, really, rather than have main news.
We do have a comment.
Hey, Joe.
Hey.
Hey, hello. Oh, lovely.
Hi, Joe. Thanks for watching us on LinkedIn. We appreciate it.
It's monsoon in Bath as well. Do you know what? I literally, I get here through public transport, and I got off the bus that I was on, and literally as the doors opened up, it felt like someone had thrown a bucket of water over me, and before I could even get my umbrella up.
I guess the humidity must be very high also.
Really, hugely. I mean, it's really hot. It's like a sauna in here at the moment.
And because we're wearing masks on public transport as well, or any confined space, it makes it even worse. You know, that although it's changed now, we're in freedom, according to Boris Johnson, our Prime Minister. Freedom. We're not actually, but you know, it's his latest spin that we're in freedom right now, and I think from the middle of August, that we're going to be even more freedom.
We just all have to be mindful. That's all.
I hope that means great news for you guys making a trip over here for special events.
Well, we will try to.
Definitely.
At the moment, it's like it's
it could change any moment, right?
It's still, I mean, quite honestly, I don't think they really know what they're doing, you know, a lot of the time from the government side. And it is so unpredictable. One minute, everything is fine. The next minute, somebody has discovered something else nasty, you know, in the air, and off we go again. So I think But we are positive in
Yes,
Britain.
I know.
We
Let's
are
not
positive.
go down that route. It's,
We are
it's
positive
all
right
good,
now.
and things are going to get a lot better.
Things are going to
So-
get better.
Absolutely.
We're thinking of like positive things, and the Olympics has been phenomenal. I don't know, have you watched any of it, Dr. Jacalyn? I mean,
I haven't watched it, but I've been reading about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's been absolutely amazing, and I think, you know, to see all these inspirational people it's really made people feel quite empowered. And I know from Great Britain's point of view, we seem to be fantastic swimmers. Anything to do with water, rowing.
Well, it's not surprising with the monsoons we've got at the moment.
You know, so I think it was something like 15 wins, wasn't it, for Great Britain last time I saw it. Could be more now. But USA as well, I think, was ahead on the leaderboard completely with gold medals. This was last time I checked, but I think that was Monday. So I don't know where we are now.
Absolutely.
But it's just fantastic to see. And obviously just to remember, you know, we're great swimmers, I know, but swimming is also a life skill, and it's a really important life skill. I think what it's done as well is it's really brought everything to the forefront. So swimming lessons are going through the roof, and it's a great thing, I think, to train in. And you know,
Are you two swimmers?
I'm a swimmer. I'm definitely not an Olympic swimmer, that's for sure. Swim, and I do want to swim more because it's actually really good fitness-wise, isn't it? Because you're using all the muscles, top of the arms and things.
I haven't swum for many, many years, but I actually got taught to swim by Charlie Chaplin's person who taught him to swim.
Did you really?
This is a
How
true
about that?
story.
You always surprise me, Ian.
This is going back. All right. Moving swiftly on, I think, after that comment.
In the 1840s.
No, that was a compliment. You're always surprising me. You have all these different dimensions to you.
Yeah, he does. I think that was directed at me, actually.
But it's truthful because he taught people to swim by putting your head in a bowl of salad. This is a true story.
Really?
And people, I almost drowned as a child when I was doing a swimming lesson. So I was always afraid of putting my head underwater. So he had this technique where he had a big bowl of salad with water in it, and he got you to breathe into the bowl of salad. This is a true story. And over 30 minutes, he took away the fear of actually putting your head underwater.
There you know. Who did know
What about that?
So,
How did you feel about eating salad after that?
But he taught the same technique to Charlie Chaplin, because Chaplin had a similar fear, and a fear of going underwater. So he used the same technique with Charlie Chaplin as well. So there we go. It's the only thing. I've met Chaplin's granddaughter, Geraldine, but apart from that, that's my only two Chaplin stories.
Oh,
They're good ones.
Oh, Philip Chan has left a message. That's great. But my former student, Matt Whitlock, is in the individual pommel horse finals in the Olympics. Congratulations, Matt.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing.
Amazing.
He is the Olympic champion now, so he's going for his second gold. So he was
phenomenal.
He was there before. So,
That's so. I mean, the equestrian. Do you know? We last week, Dr. Jacalyn and Ian. Obviously, we showed that wonderful clip of the horses. You know, our military horses.
Oh, I love that.
Which is a fantastic thing. But it made me think. You know that we have 36 horses that have been flown over to Japan for the Olympics. And each aeroplane has a stable, has 19 stables within the plane. And then they're flown over. And I think it's phenomenal to think. I mean, all in all, there's, I don't know, 300 and something horses from around the world. But you sort of forget the intricacies that go into the Olympics, which I find amazing.
and I learned a very interesting fact. Horses sleep stood up.
Yeah.
They stand up when they're asleep as well, because apparently these horses didn't lay down on their flight over, but they fall asleep standing up.
That's got to be a very large plane.
So,
Exactly. 19 stables.
absolutely.
Well, actually, no, maybe that it would, sort of works, I guess. It's one of those amazing things that you think about. You think, wow.
They got that. They got that.
Yeah, they are. And they're looked over and looked after incredibly well. And also, horses have passports. Who knew? They have passports, and obviously they're microchips.
I didn't know that either. Do horses, this might sound ridiculous, but do they have to get vaccinated?
I don't think so. I don't think they have the same issues as people. Obviously, all the people have been vaccinated.
I suppose vaccines that they would need, they would have.
Yeah.
But what they are, I don't know.
Yeah, but that's a very good point.
I did read a story that in some of the zoos in the United States, they were giving vaccinations, a COVID vaccine, to animals in zoos. So I don't know.
I know they were saying that dogs and cats, pets, household pets could get the virus, and were holding the virus as well.
Cats.
So
I would think yes.
So it could very well be. You've now brought up something that we don't know. But
does anyone in our audience know? Does anybody watching know?
We need someone to come in. Where's Philip when you need him? I'm sure he'll come in. I think maybe
face mask for horses, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Dr. Jacalyn also. The most recent thing I heard was 4-time Olympian Simone Biles, I think her name is.
Mm-hmm.
She's decided to withdraw because of mental health challenges.
I saw that.
Because she's put her mental health first, and I can imagine it's incredibly stressful. So good for her to coming out and speaking about it. But hopefully,
very good for her.
Withdrawing from an individual approach. I don't know whether that means in group things she'll still participate. I don't know, but anyway. So that's what we do know. So there's lots going on. And just one small thing which I found funny as well. Matt Richards, who's one of the one of the swimmers, sorry. During lockdown, he was training in a paddling pool and a bungee rope. So the bungee rope was attached to him, and he was obviously swimming in a very, very deep paddling pool. So amazing. Obviously, it was worthwhile constantly, hours and hours a day. Well, it was worth it, wasn't it? But how ingenious.
He got a gold medal.
He did.
So all the paddling pools in Britain now are being sold as we speak, future Olympians.
Great. That's great news. You're bringing a lot of information to us here that we're not aware of. So it's exciting.
It is exciting.
I think, with all these things, the reality at the moment is we are excited about the Olympics. I mean, anything, let's be honest, right now that can uplift any of the countries, especially, I should imagine, America as well. At a time like this, it's got to be good, because it brings harmony, it brings people together as well from across the world.
Absolutely.
Something I can just share quickly is I was reunited with my family over the weekend. And as I've told you, I've been with my mom all this time in the lockdown. And I didn't realize until I saw my family how lonely I was. Like I had just adapted to living the way I was living. And then when we went to leave, my mom was crying. It was kind of like, oh my gosh, now we're going back to being in isolation again. And it's hard. And I think in terms of mental health awareness, maybe we're not even aware yet of all the ramifications of what this has done to us.
Absolutely. That's to come. That's something that's, especially as well in teenagers. But that's another discussion. But yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Oh, lovely that you saw your family though. That's beautiful.
It was really nice. It was great. It was great. We're getting a lot of really good interaction from people watching. So thank you so much. We appreciate it. I think we should take a break. And what I would love, Helena and Ian, is if you would tee up the clip about the horses. I'd love to play this for us, the Holcomb Beach.
That's lovely. So this is a beautiful, beautiful video. It's of our military horses. And when they're not on ceremony, trooping with the colour, they take a break. They have a summer holiday and they do a lot of bonding with their owners, trainers on Holcomb Beach. And Holcomb Beach in Norfolk is this most spectacular beach. And in fact, it's used for filming in lots of major profile films. And at this minute, I can't remember which films, but I know lots of A-list films use it. It's such a lovely, lovely, lovely clip, and you see them just having fun, the horses, amateur horses.
Let's take a look, and then we'll be right back with Celebrate Great Britain Royally Rich Show.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Wasn't that beautiful? Wasn't that? Welcome back to USA Global TV. You're watching Celebrate Great Britain Royally Rich Show with the stars of our show, Ian and Helena. In our first segment, woo! We were talking about we can travel back to London and back to the UK. As of an hour ago, the news is official. And we also talked about the Olympics, mental health awareness. And now we're on to our second segment. So welcome back.
Absolutely. So I'd like to introduce our first guest of the afternoon, who is Noleen Mariappen, who is the most incredible entrepreneur. I mean, what this young lady has done in just a few years, it puts all my career to shame, I think, as well at the same time. So perhaps we can bring Noleen in, please.
Hi, Noleen. Welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on. It's an honor and a privilege. And Ian, you are way too generous with your compliments. So I feel like I have something to live up to now.
I think your story is incredible. It really is. So when you were in South Africa, you were seen really as someone, because you had colour, this caused you all sorts of issues in your life. So can you talk a little bit about the early days in South Africa and what's really given you that energy, that inspiration, that aspiration to be who you are today?
Yes, it was an interesting time. I think anyone who knows about South Africa and its history of apartheid will have some insight into what that actually meant for people who weren't white, who were living there at the time. And it was really when we were growing up, we didn't actually realize that there was anything wrong. It was just the nature of our existence in our world. We were very poor. My older brother and I would be looking for where the neighbors.
I guess we're having some technical difficulties.
We are having some technical difficulties for a second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's hope. So hopefully she'll be back shortly.
She will be back in a second.
I'll bring her back as soon as she's gone. We've got some comments, by the way. I didn't get to play these before, or share these. Philip Chan, legally, horse food is one of the most nutritional, balanced food and must have at least 11 nutrients. That's why horses are so healthy. How about that?
Well,
an interesting one.
Well, I'm meeting with Mr. Chan tomorrow, so I will discuss this fact with him as we're traveling to an event.
Oh, that's wonderful. He's actually going to be a guest on Life's Amazing Journey on Friday, so we're excited to see him there. Thank you, Joe. Great show. And Philip Chan, my friend Noleen, is really amazing and very well-traveled young lady and business entrepreneur.
This is true.
She is.
And I think, once we get her back, she has got this amazing story. I don't want to spoil too much of it, but it really is what we call in Britain a rags to riches story a lot of the time. It's the most incredible situation that she had to deal with. In South Africa, she was known as a lesser person. And that's how she felt as well.
She just joined us.
We're so
right.
awful, isn't it? Oh, we're so
there
pleased.
we're back.
We're glad you're back. Welcome.
Thank you. So very, very strangely, we had a power cut for a few seconds, and that disconnected the Wi-Fi. So I was trying to figure out whether I could connect through my phone if it didn't come back on again.
Well, we're glad you're here.
We're back. Thank you so much. So really sorry about that, but there's been so much interesting content that you've been sharing, so I'm sure that there's no end to fillers.
Would you like to continue talking about your journey?
Yes. So it was challenging, but we didn't see it as being so. Trying to find food, whether it was going into the fields and trying to find wild herbs, or looking for where chickens had laid their eggs so we could steal them. It was just life. It was just something that we did, and it was only really when I started to move outside of our immediate community, which was when apartheid ended. I was able to get a scholarship and work 3 jobs to get to university, and started to see what life was like for other people, and not just see what life was like, but also understand just how much of an issue there were for other people who were even worse off than we were. We were fortunate enough to always have family and neighbors and friends who helped out when things were really at their lowest points. And that also helped to build that sense of community. And I think is one of the things which, from the very early days instilled in me this desire to initially want to make a difference for my family and, friends and immediate community. And as I saw more of the world, I realized that, that community that really needed was so much greater, and that there was so much more that could be done. So that was really the context of my life growing up. My parents and family sacrificed a lot for me to be able to do the things that I was able to do, that for me to be able to get to university, travel thereafter. In between my honors and masters, I needed to earn more to afford masters, so traveled out to South Korea, where I worked and did research for a while, and then eventually moved to the UK. And their support, and it wasn't always financial support where they could, but the emotional support and backing me up in my decisions was something that really helped me to be able to take the next steps in my life and to be able to persevere even when things were really, really tough.
Right. Noleen, thank you for sharing that with us. So obviously you travelled to Britain with very little money.
Yeah.
But you've done incredibly well. You're a successful entrepreneur. How can you tell us about this?
Yeah, sure. So I'd always wanted to learn more and do more. So I was always, studying new things, and I always had a love of business and the love of wanting to help people. And initially, I felt like the right space for me was working in the nonprofit world, but that wasn't quite right because the model of development and support didn't quite align. And so I started looking at projects where it was more focused on communities becoming empowered to become more self-sustaining, looking at more sustainable development and that sort of thing. And one of the projects, my background is organizational psychology, and I was heavily involved in management consultancy type initiatives. And I was trying to apply that within projects that I was working on. And one of them was a workforce development program. And we looked at working within local communities, so upskilling people, but then working with businesses in the community to allow for them to start earning and generating more profit so that they could hire more people. And in theory, that was, a fantastic initiative. But I also felt like a bit of a fraud because everything that I was supporting businesses with were things that I knew in theory and that I'd learned and that I'd studied and that I'd read up on and that I'd seen applied in other businesses, and nothing that I had actually done myself. So I decided to put everything into practice for my own business. And I started with a concept, and I took the business from concept to exit within 6 months. It wasn't just skill, and it wasn't just, doing all the right things. I did it on an absolute shoestring budget. So I did it for $90 and took that to exit. And saw that was something that I loved and saw the difference that I could make with what I was able to accomplish and achieve there. So that was how that entrepreneurial journey began.
Wow, $90. That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Noleen, you're an organizational psychologist who has transitioned as a serial and impact entrepreneur, and you have shared that good can be created for businesses and community. Can you elaborate a little more about these areas?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So I think, one of the difficulties with the nonprofit model of supporting communities is that it's often not something which can be sustained. You see so many projects that start, get funding, do fantastic work for a year or so, and then run out of funding. And a lot of what happens is it becomes the focus of many projects becomes about finding funding to continue projects rather than looking at a long-term view for growth, for greater investment into communities, into the environment, into resolving the issues that really need to be solved. And there's been a transition, particularly over the last few years, and if you look at the impact investing and impact funding space at the moment, and you go on LinkedIn and do any searches around sustainability, there's been an absolute boom over the last year. But there have been a number of companies who, for a very long period of time, have been focusing not just on profit, but also having a positive purpose. And what that's done is, it's the reason that it's even more appealing now is because now more than ever, there are more conscious consumers who care about, the value base of the organizations that they're buying their products and services from. So we're in a position where organizations who are focusing not just on profits, but also on social environmental good are in a fantastic space to actually leverage that to do really, really well. And, it's no longer just about having great reports or saying that they're doing good things. There's more and more of a transition toward actually measuring and proving the good that's being done. There's this saying that, if you want to make $1 billion, find a problem that 1 billion people face and solve it. And now more than ever, that's absolutely true. And even if the problem that you're solving is for people who don't have the money to finance it, there is so much capital out there which leverages that good that it's possible to actually earn from it. So I don't know if I've completely answered your question, but please feel free to ask any follow-on questions if I haven't.
You have, thank you.
Noleen, you have a mission as well now to create strategic and scalable growth for businesses. So talk about this mission that you're really creating for people as well at the same time.
Yeah. So what I've discovered is that there are two challenges that businesses face. The one is having no growth, and the other is growing in a way beyond their means. And that means is not always money. Sometimes it's about systems, sometimes it's about supply and having all of the mechanisms and everything in place to facilitate and allow for that growth. And what I support and look at is how businesses can initially, align their strategy with their operations and with their outcomes, because very often businesses start with a specific aim. Business life takes over, the market trends take over, what's necessary in terms of marketing or financing or budgeting takes over. And sometimes they go so far off course just by doing everything that they think they should be doing and end up being miles away from what it is that their initial strategic aims and business aims actually were. So I look at how these can be aligned and what it is that, where the gaps are and where it is that people actually need to be investing their time and resource, and also how it is that they can factor in and bring in additional resource through partnerships, through networks, through financing, which allows for them to scale. And often people think of scaling as something that you just do when you're doing well. It isn't. Scaling is sometimes something that you need to do in order to do well. It's just how it is that you actually apply the sort of methodology to scaling. Is it capital? Is it people? Is it the right partnerships? Is it looking at changing your marketing strategy or looking at your business model? What can actually allow for you to develop and grow your business? And of course, the long-term aim is always around profitability and being able to have more of an impact.
Thanks for that, Noleen. It's interesting, isn't it? I think you're teaching us to reevaluate our businesses, which is great tips. So thank you for that. Also, I know that you've got a Roku channel, so congratulations. That's great news. So
thank you.
Media obviously interests you and interests all of us. Have you got a vision of where you're taking your channel?
Yeah. Sure. So that channel, it's called Level Up TV, and we recently launched. It's on Roku, on Amazon, and dealing with some formatting issues on Amazon, and we'll expand to others as well. But that was actually the result of a number of pivots. I launched a community interest initiative called Inspiration for Good a few years ago. And the core aim of that was to develop projects that were profitable to support nonprofit initiatives, to, help that funding issue that they're always facing. And one of the things that, the byproducts of that was we came across so many fantastic people, so many incredible projects, bodies of knowledge constantly. And we just thought this is something that needs to get out there into the world to motivate, to inspire, to be able to help people to, grow the way that they think, or shift the way that they think, or just, motivate some positive action in some way, or even just to make people feel better. And initially it was going to be a book, and there was just way too much content for that. And then we thought, okay, perhaps we do a podcast. And there was just, everyone was doing a podcast, and it was like, okay, this is going to, this market is becoming saturated very quickly, and we don't have enough traction for that. And then we decided to launch Level Up TV, and the aim is really to give others a platform to showcase the positive that they have to share. So it's not just our channel. It's not just our channel as an Inspirations for Good channel. It's our channel as in the channel for people. Channel for anyone who has great content to share, who has, inspiring stories, who wants to host their own show. And the aim for that, aside from just being able to share and create great content, and obviously to have other content creators share their content, is to also, in the long term, get sponsors on board who support specific nonprofit initiatives as well.
Noleen, congratulations. That is very exciting that you have this platform where people can come and speak and share their stories. That's wonderful. And I know that you do provide and offer business advice. And so we're wondering who should reach out to you and how can they contact you?
The easiest way to contact me is on LinkedIn. So my details should be up on screen on LinkedIn, but my surname is pretty unusual, so there aren't too many of them out there. So find me on LinkedIn. The people who should contact, or it's most appropriate to contact, I guess, would be businesses who are startup, growth, or sort out phase. If there are things that you want to look at specifically in relation to your strategy and operations. Expanding into new markets or territories, or if you're in the impact space, this is a space that I feel very strongly and passionately about personally. So if you're a social impact entrepreneur or aspiring to be, feel free to reach out. And if you're in the nonprofit space and you're looking to develop projects which can be more self-sustaining and apply some of the business principles to your operations, and also to align with partners and align with projects that can help for your projects to become funded, then reach out as well. But if I haven't mentioned something, but you've listened to this and you think that in some way I can help, please do reach out.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure having you on the show.
It's been absolutely wonderful, and a real honor to be on. So thank you very much, Dr. Jacalyn, Ian, Helena. And it's been great listening to, the intro. And I had exactly the same question about how Ian felt about salads now, which he didn't actually answer. But yes, so thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Noleen. It's been wonderful.
Thank you. We look forward to having you back. Take
Wonderful.
care.
Take care, everyone.
Take care.
Bye-bye. We are going to take a short break and then hear from some of our sponsors. And then when we come back, we've got a second guest. Do you want to just tease the audience a little bit about the second guest?
We have a fabulous second guest. Her name is Friederike Krum. She is an award-winning German mezzo-soprano singer and much, much more. She's based in London. And she's also an ambassador of the arts with the Alpha Club. So that's okay for now until she comes back later.
Fantastic. All right, let's take a break and we'll be right back. Stay with us here on Celebrate Great Britain, Royally Rich Show.
Hey everybody, my name is Ralph Graves Jr. I'm the host of the Ralph Graves Jr. Show, and I want to invite you to pick up my book, Unstoppable. I wrote a book called Unstoppable. It's 7 universal laws that will transform how you pursue and achieve success. The one thing that my 20 years of law enforcement has taught me is that no matter who you are, we are all governed by universal laws, like gravity. But in this book, we're going to talk about laws like the law of forgiveness, laws like the law of control, the law of intelligent practice, the law of expectancy. I was able to see how those, no matter what their background was, those who identified and treated these laws with respect, they were able to go on and lead successful lives. So pick up this book, and you can go ahead and pick it up at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, RalphGravesJr.com, where anywhere where fine books are sold. Thank you.
There are 7.7 billion people on Earth today. 40% of these people are under the age of 25. Young adults are the most fertile mission field in the world today. In Scripture, we see Jesus pouring his life into 12 young adults who he equipped to change the world and all of history. Like Jesus, we believe that the best approach to reach the world with the gospel is to invest in young, emerging leaders and equip them to build disciple-making movements. Concentric is the notion of surrounding and sharing a common center. Our center is the model and strategy of Jesus for both leadership development and ministry formation. As a global alliance, we provide equipping in biblical leadership based on Jesus' example in the New Testament. Jesus modeled for us how to make disciples that reproduce. Focusing on leadership development is key to creating movements that spread the gospel and Jesus' disciple-making strategy to young leaders around the globe. Our Ministry Alliance partners are actively equipping leaders and building movements of multiplication that reproduce the life of Christ. Join us today to equip young leaders with Jesus' strategies that will change cities and nations.
The session that we had with BCAT was really entertaining and enlightening. We were able to put together some very specific steps that we as individuals can take, and it was really fun to all come together and see sort of where we're going as a team and how we can all get there together.
We had a tremendous experience with the BCAT partners. One of the challenges that we have as an organization is to make sure that we have the right people in the right chairs doing the right thing. To do that well, you have to have synergy. You can try to dream up ways to make sure that your group does that, or you can rely on experts. We would recommend BCAT partners to anybody who's looking to take their organization to the next level.
Academy Sedan and Limo is a full-service transportation company serving the Philadelphia metropolitan area with full knowledge of the New York City, Baltimore, and Washington, D.C. areas. We pride ourselves on being the most dependable, conscientious company in the industry. Our always on-time service and dependable pricing make us the company to call for any event or occasion. Our vehicles can accommodate any size party for any occasion. Our vehicles range from 4-door sedans to SUVs to minivans to limo buses to full-size tour buses and can accommodate groups of 2 to 100. We offer airport shuttle service or over-the-road service without limitation regarding mileage or time, and no drive is too long or too far. So if you find yourself in need of transportation of any type with any vehicle, give us a call at 610-842-4564 and let us show you what a real transportation company can do for you.
Use code ACADEMY2020 to receive 20% off your first 3 rides, including parking and tolls.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Hello and welcome back to USA Global TV, where we just enjoyed a phenomenal segment with Noleen, and we've got another guest who is joining us. So I will turn it over to you, Ian and Helena.
Yeah, fantastic guest, as I mentioned, so Friederike Krum. We're very, very excited to have her join us. As I mentioned, an award-winning German mezzo-soprano based in London and also ambassador of arts at Alpha Club. She is the most phenomenal lady, classically trained, but has an amazing talent in that she can turn her voice to various genres. So opera, jazz, classical, lieder, musicals, enabling her to do crossover music, which she shares with us all. She's performed in front of dignitaries, royals worldwide, and lots of very special people. And let's bring her out. Very exciting.
Hi, welcome.
Hi, Friederike.
Hi, Friederike.
I think you're on mute.
I think you're on mute. Somehow. Sorry. Oh, it happens, doesn't it?
Yes, technology always keeps us on our toes, doesn't it? There she is.
Am I back?
Yes.
Am I back?
Yes, you are.
That was a strange one. This is the technical thing.
For having me on the show. Well, it's lovely to be here and with you, and I very much enjoyed the previous guest. What an amazing achievement she's done. Really hats up to people like her. And so I'm at the moment in Germany, and having arrived here to be with my family finally after 18 months not having seen them. So it's been very emotional reunion yesterday. But of course, that's the world we live in at the moment. We appreciate the little things which are actually the most important things, our family, and to have them all well and sound.
They are.
So true. So true. And we talked before the show about that impressive book collection that you have behind you.
This is like my sister's. I'm at the moment at my sister because she has the good Wi-Fi compared to my 85-year-old mother, who's not quite yet up on that level of broadband. But these are actually books my late father has written. He loved traveling the world. There's actually one about Florida, Hong Kong, the US, Canada. So I mean, he's traveled the world and written really lovely travel books. So they are a lovely reminder of travels we very often have done together as a family. So it's a treasure.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Beautiful. Friederike was
and you've been praising me so much. God, again, I have to live up now to whatever you have announced me.
You've got so much to share with us, I'm sure, Friederike. But just starting last week, I mentioned about a special production. We'd all been in lockdown for so long, and we were all going mad, and we wanted to hear music.
I know.
And we wanted stage shows. We wanted entertainment. We wanted it back. And you, Friederike, actually performed at the Albert Hall, 150 years anniversary, on stage, the best of the West End, and apparently it was absolutely fabulous. But over to you. It'd be so lovely to hear how you personally felt being able to perform again. Also, how it was received by people in the audience. And as mentioned before, I know that you're ambassador of the Alpha Club, so you can sort of add something on about that as well. It'd be lovely to hear.
Yes, it was actually thanks to the Alpha Club, who actually put on the show, the Alpha's Best of the West End, at the Royal Albert Hall. And it was an amazing experience after all this time. As we all know, no live concerts were possible. And the audience was as excited as we were on stage. There was a real sort of electricity in the audience. You could feel it buzzing. I mean, they jumped up from their seats in each number. Every one of us performers got standing ovations halfway through the song because they couldn't literally sit still in their seats. They had to jump up. And it was an incredible celebration of music, on being together in one room, not virtual. And it was incredible. And it was an amazing thing for Alpha Club to have done, to put that grand show up and let everybody join in. It open tickets, and it was really magnificent, really very special.
Wow, that's so nice. I think we've got some little clips, which would be great to show. I know we've got one of you doing sound check at the Royal Albert Hall, which maybe we should show to begin with, if possible.
Absolutely.
And then there's actually there's a couple of little clips, I think, taken from the audience. So it's obviously so close to it because it was only last week. So it's amazing that Friederike's managed to release these to us just to show a little snippet of audience sort of taking it. So if you don't mind,
let me see what you have found.
All right, let's take a look.
That was actually the Alpha's Best of the West End from last year, and just 2 days before London went into lockdown. It was the 9th of March 2020. And which is so amazing that we were the last concert at the Royal Albert Hall with the Best of the West End, and we were the first one back to reopen the theatre district all over London. So that was really special. Yeah.
That's lovely. It looked lovely also to be able to see the Albert Hall in the background, with the music and
the organ, you know, that the big organ in the background is an amazing instrument, especially with the Phantom that I sang the year before. I sang the famous duet from the Phantom, everybody knows. Dum, da, 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 dum, da, 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 dum. Everybody knows it. And that on the organ, I mean, it's just, the whole body vibrates when you listen to it. It's a very powerful instrument.
Lovely. Well, I know that you I Could Have Danced All Night, I think was your song from last week.
Still dancing in my head. It was amazing.
Oh, it's so lovely to see that joy. It's lovely. And I think this is a little clip that we have. I know there was a little bit of you dancing with Ben Monday, I think. You did a bit of dancing.
I had the lovely Ben Monday dancing with me. And it was all choreographed by the Olivier Award winning Steve Mayer choreography. It was unbelievable to have worked with people like that. So I have a little clip. It's only filmed from an iPhone in the audience, but it gives a little idea of how that dance went.
It's very moving. All right, let's take a look.
I could see you, Helena, so swinging. You missed your chance to walk around the little sofa around there in the background.
Helena, I don't know about you. Wouldn't you have loved to have been in that dress and on the stage and be waltzed around?
So it just was dreamy. It was fairy tale. It's that lovely dress that you're wearing as well.
I had it especially made. Because I thought something, because Eliza in the scene of My Fair Lady, she's just coming from the ball, having danced in this amazing figure-hugging gown that she was wearing, Audrey Hepburn. So I thought something a little bit similar, but then I added the cape. It was, very special. Really enjoyed that.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. just lovely, absolutely lovely. Sorry. I think we have got another clip of you singing as well, but we've got other clips, I think, sort of, further on too. So
okay,
maybe we could carry on, unless you've got something ready.
Sure. No. I mean, it's just amazing that Alpha does what they do. They support the arts incredibly and the artists. I mean, I've done, as you mentioned, I do not just classical. I sing a lot of crossover repertoire for corporate events, private functions, whatever. And in 35 years of doing that, I have never come across a company that appreciates the arts and the musicians so much. I mean, when you perform for Alpha, the events are to start with incredible. I mean, they've just booked the Albert Hall. That is giving you a little bit of the scale that they're able to produce. You can hear a pin drop. There is nobody talking. It is really about the music and allowing the audience, as much as the artist, to really escape for a moment that world. And they bring you really into a complete different sphere, from the exquisite wines to dinner to locations and to the performing arts. And it's really amazing. They're really something special.
I feel that's exactly how, as I was watching, I feel like I was transported somewhere else. And it's just so beautiful. Yeah. Shall we watch the clip of you singing?
Okay, if we got it. Yeah,
yes.
Let's do it.
Yes, let's do it. Here we go.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I was very lucky to work with these people, and the London Musical Theatre, conducted by Stuart Morley. It's a great pleasure to work with such amazing people. So we were lucky.
And we talked a little bit before. Oh, I'm sorry. We talked a little bit before the show. I would think, just looking at you, that you work out for like 20 hours a day. You said that is not the case.
Yeah, you're very kind, likewise, actually. But no, I'm not a gym person. You spoke about horses to start with the Olympics. I've always had a horse all my life, no longer since I live in the UK. But I loved riding. I did, dressage, all these things. So I appreciate what goes into that skill. Although my horse did lie down, Ian. He was sunbathing. He was lying down in the straw. Maybe I had the laziest of horses, but he was lying down a lot. So no, I don't. I just go for really long, intensive power walking. That's what I do as a gym. And I do ballroom dancing once a week, really, with a professional dancer. So it's kind of like driving a car with a tom-tom. You dance with a professional dancer and you kind of follow. You feel like Ginger Rogers. And it's a full body workout. So, and it came, as you just saw, very handy for my performance at the Royal Albert Hall. So no, that's what I do. And otherwise I just, eat healthy, and I have very good genes. My mother is quite striking, aged 85. A lot to live up to, but lucky.
You have such great posture and carry yourself so well. I have to stand up straighter. Okay, sorry, Ian.
Quite all right. I mean, I'm battling against three ladies this afternoon. So I'm just sat here, but the reality, I've got to confess, first of all, Friederike, I've got a personal crush on mezzo-sopranos.
Oh, I'm very pleased to hear so.
Out of all the genres. I work with people like Kiri Katano, and so I've worked with some beautiful singers like yourself as well. So I love that genre. I love that. I mean, there's a personal strength that you actually have, the power. I remember with Katanova working once, and she sang right over the top, unmiked, against the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. So you have this tremendous power as well, which is awesome, absolutely awesome. But in reality, where did your love of music come from in the first place?
I grew up in a very musical household, not in the sense of my parents actively playing instruments, but there was always music coming out of one radio or another, and it was predominantly classical music. Though my mother, she loved operetta, so there was a lot of that Viennese waltz coming, a lot of radio as well. So yeah, definitely classical music was something I grew up with. And then I started singing in the church choir in the local village with my mother again. And the conductor was as well my piano teacher. So he knew there was a general musicality, and he gave me a little solo here and there, and I just loved it. I never experienced the fear of performing. So going out and getting out on stage is for some a real nervous breakdown moment, while for me, I just can't wait to get out there. It's just, oh, I'm coming alive with an audience. So that certainly played positively into choosing that career path. And from there I went. After my A-levels, I went to the very good music college in Hamburg, and later on then trained privately with Dame Elizabeth Schwarzkopf, who of course is an absolute legend, or was, and never looked back. But that was all still classical at the time. And that's where, as you just mentioned, you learn the technique to blast your voice, project the voice over an orchestra. And that is the big difference, of course, to crossover, where you use a microphone. So it's not necessarily that classical singers or musical crossover singers have so much a different repertoire, because I think we all sing these days whatever we want to sing, but one sings with a microphone or needs the microphone to project, while the classical singer can do it without.
Fascinating. Thank you for sharing that. You've also shared with us that you've enjoyed a singing career that spanned over 30 years, which is amazing. And you moved from Hamburg to London. Do you find that UK and German audiences have different tastes in the styles of music that you perform?
Oh, yes, most definitely. I mean, Germany is still very predominantly classical music. And then the crossover has sort of started a little bit over the last 10 years, maybe, but it's not as popular as it is in Great Britain. And there is much more the sort of sections of music. They certainly have jazz, and they have the classical music, which is very big. And then Germany has the Schlager and the Bavarian styles of folk music, which is a very, very big following. But the sort of proper crossover like we have in Britain is not as popular or well known. So there's a very different market.
Interesting. Thank you.
But I love crossover, because it just gives you the opportunity to venture in different genres. And I think, as Helena said to start with, I've worked really hard to, one way, of course, I know how to sing classically, but when I sing crossover with a microphone, I sing with a different technique, because singing with a microphone, again, you need to know how to do that. And when I sing jazz, like when I recorded my Gershwin album, which was released last year, it's, again, a very different style. I'm not singing with my operatic voice. So different styles deserve different techniques. And I think then it's a proper crossover when you really use certain techniques for certain styles and not just put it all under one brush.
It also sounds quite liberating, Friederike, being able to turn your voice to different genres like that. That's really, really something. So
it's beautiful. There's not really. I always struggle with the fact that very often in the classical music, people sort of are very snooty about, they're a classical singer, I do classical music. There's good and there's bad music, or there's good and bad performances. But if you like George Michael, if you like Joe Cocker, beautiful, fantastic. I love George Michael, by the way. Anyway, but just there's no reason to value one more than the other. It's different, not better.
That's so refreshing to hear. That's really refreshing to hear. Thank you. You've obviously been taught by the best, as you've explained, but you've also worked with some great music music people, Placido Domingo, Jose Carreras, and more. And also you performed with Russell Watson as well. I know we've got a clip a bit later on, but what's it like to work with these great performers?
How do you say that? I mean, in a way, it is, of course, an amazing opportunity to work with these people. And I particularly really enjoyed meeting Placido Domingo, who has been given so much grief over the last years. And he's such a gentleman, if I may say this here, very publicly. He is nothing but a gentleman. And he's so kind he remembers people from years back. He greets the porter at the door. He greets the cleaning lady of the theatre hall. He knows them by name. He asks how their children are. I've never met a person like this. Really, really very special. But of course, an amazing singer above all. And yes, you learn from them if they take you a little bit under their wing and guide you. And I had a private lesson with him, and it was very special. But I think above all, you can see who is still humble. Some obviously let the whole thing go to their head if they're very famous, and others are very humble. And he, as well as Carreras, they're all very humble people, which I think is beautiful to watch if you get to work with them. Russell Watson, I met, when was it? 2-3 years ago. Again, we sang together at the Royal Albert Hall. We were recording a single together because I was ambassador at the time, the very first ambassador of the famous British war veterans, the famous Chelsea pensioners. And so we recorded a song in order to raise funds for their famous new red scarlet coats. And again, Alpha Club came on board and supported that fundraising project. So we produced a record sponsored by Alpha. And we ended up performing it at the Royal Albert Hall with the Chelsea pensioners there, which was very emotional. And it was great singing with him and fun recording. And, you know, he's a great, great singer. Really, really fun working with him.
That's so fantastic. We actually do have a clip that we'll play shortly of yourself and Russell, which is lovely. You can see the Chelsea pensioners either side. It's so cute, and you sound beautiful. But just quickly, am I right in thinking so? Placido Domingo, who, thank you for sharing them, is so humble. It's good to hear. Did he give you a really lovely comment about your voice as well?
Sorry, can you say that again? It's sort of a bit bubbly.
Oh, he gave you a lovely compliment about your voice.
Placido?
Yes. What did he say? Share it with us.
I think something about warm charisma, a warm voice, and a lovely stage charisma. It was really, it was very lovely. No, indeed. No, I mean, as I say, he's a wonderful person. I know the entire family. I've sang with his son, Placido Domingo Jr., at the Jose Carreras TV show in Germany. It's a big television show for his leukemia foundation. And no, I mean, Placido Domingo is unique. It's a once in a century personality and voice.
Oh, thank you. I'm hoping that we have the clip, Dr. Jacalyn, of them singing with Russell. Do we
yes,
have that? Yeah,
we do have it. Let's take a look.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Russell Watson and Friederike Krum.
Urging up to serve our country, only to do my toil of duty, eager to believe we'd make this world a safer place. Write a letter home to mother, pray we're not machine gun fodder. Dare to dream we'll walk again our green and pleasant land. Push on, push on, with the faith that I believe in and the strength to carry on. Push on, push on, it's every man for himself in this hell called home from home.
Oh, getting goosebumps.
I think that was the centenary, I think, as well, which makes it really special.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've done a lot for the military, for the German troops, for the British troops. I went out to Afghanistan. I've sung on warships. There's something about people who serve that I just automatically feel they deserve our respect. They put their life on the line to enable us to live in peace around the world. And that to be willing to do that and to be willing to pay the ultimate sacrifice, which so many of them have done who were stationed in Iraq and wherever, I think it's incredible and they deserve our support. And so that was always a very clear choice of mine to sing pro bono for all these events or locations, even in the NATO camp in Afghanistan.
Absolutely. Friederike, can I make another personal point? Your complexion is incredible.
I know, amazing.
Honestly, I cannot believe you've been singing for 30 years. I mean
I am 54.
I just want to know, are you washing your face in salad or what is your skincare routine?
No, but I eat a lot of salad. No, well, I think it's really, my mother looks incredible. It's really, I mean, she's 80, 85, and it's unbelievable. So I think I'm really just very lucky. But don't worry, I don't wake up like this in the morning.
But I think we share a love of jazz. I was very lucky. I've worked with Sinatra and I've worked with people like Count Basie as well. So I love the big band era at the same time.
Oh, it's gorgeous, yeah.
What was your greatest inspiration that you've seen over your period? What does really inspire you? And do you have those dreams to do even more yet?
I wanted to do Gershwin because I always loved Gershwin. By sheer coincidence, I think my music teacher in Hamburg, when I was 10 or 11, he played Somebody Loves Me in one of our music lessons. And something, even as a young person, just hit me. The lyrics, the charm, the undoubtedly beautiful romance in his songs, and the sheer sort of spirit in his songs really captured me, and it stayed with me. So when I then later became a musician, I sang that song all through my life. Really, at most of my shows, I will fit in at least one or two Gershwin songs. And I think Gershwin is timeless. The combination of brother and two brothers writing, one the music, one the absolutely beautiful lyrics, has been a very wonderful thing. And it's actually, funny enough, it was Lady Mountbatten who brought the song The Man I Love over to the UK from the States, because she heard Gershwin play it in some party drawing room in New York, and she asked him if she could take it to London, and that's how it came to be in the UK, and Gershwin became a bigger name in the UK. And then eventually, of course, the royal family became very fond. So the late Queen Mother was loving Gershwin. So Queen Elizabeth II has been growing up listening to Gershwin probably more than any other of person in Britain. So there's a huge love for Gershwin in the UK.
Can I just ask one more question? Wouldn't you like to see that era again? Because
I mean, who wouldn't?
Women, the most fabulous at that time, the music, the lyrics, the whole thing. It seemed to be a much nicer time.
Well, yes, I mean, there are in each era, I mean, if you put them under the looking glass, I wouldn't necessarily want to like the lack of women's rights and you know, having to dress up before your husband comes home and put in the newspaper on his the sort of, I think we have moved on from that, even though, you know, it's nothing wrong doing that if you want to, but not if it's expected. But yes, the music, the area, the way people dress, oh my God, beam me back. And I think the common courtesy that sort of existed then, the sort of generational appreciation that you respected your elderly. And I think there was a lot to be said for those eras. And I think especially as well in Germany after the war, this sort of coming all together and creating something new from scratch and having seen what horrendous times people have been through, and the community of rebuilding, and the music that was coming out in that era as well in Britain, of course, Vera Lynn, and there was something of being united, while at the moment everybody's sort of in it for themselves. Lots of elbows and egos, and I'm a big team player, so I don't like egos around me, quite frank. And yeah, so thank you, Helena. No, it's just really as well, you know, a lot of soloists, I see it in my profession, they come out, they come on stage, and it's all me, while I'm nobody without the wonderful person in the dark I'll never get to see, who puts the beam on me, the light, it makes me look beautiful, or the person who did my makeup backstage, or the people who do the sound. Again, nobody sees there. I don't know if their name's even printed in the program. Those are the people who make me look and sound what I am and who I am on stage. So there's a huge gratitude from my side to them. And whenever I can, I will announce it on my private shows or whatever to thank everybody. But as well, you know, coming probably from a classical background and having played the cello as well in an orchestra, I know how to play and function as a team. And it is important for me to, you can tell if somebody hasn't got that feeling of teamwork, because, well, if you do some Matthew Passion or some sort of sacred music, very often the violin just plays the same melody that you are singing a second later. It's actually an instrumental duet. Just because I'm the soloist singing in the front row doesn't make me any more important than the first violin who had just played that beautiful melody. And it's a dialogue, and it's a dialogue between conductor, it's the audience. It's such a team effort to get an amazing show or an intimate concert going. So to me, that's very important that people know that they are just as important as the person on stage.
I really appreciate you sharing that, and the fact that there's no I in team, and that although there's one person on the stage, there's a whole group of people that help get you there. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
I have to ask about the green gown. What's the story with that? Stunning.
Yeah, that was, I don't know, I saw it in a wedding in Hamburg, actually. And I just walked in and I thought, I need to have that dress. I didn't think it through at the time because I had to bring it on a plane back. Quite frank, I thought, well, I'm safe on plane today because if we come down, I can parachute in that dress and I probably land very safely. No, it was a perfect dress because it went so well as well with the red scarlet from the Chelsea pensioners, and it was just it was. Well, thank you for liking it because I liked it too.
It was definitely perfect. It was,
it's a lovely
for sure.
perk of my profession, of course. I mean, I have a wardrobe full of amazing gowns. But now with social media and all of that, and of course, press taking photographs, red carpet, you cannot wear them very often. So my daughter is waiting desperately. She's sitting over there. She's waiting for all of these dresses to go her way.
Lucky girl.
Indeed, lucky girl. Well, I'm a very lucky mother because she helps me set up all the technical side of things. I told her she's never allowed to move out.
It's amazing with all of your success and all of the talent that you have. How important do you think a good education is? And also, as a segue from that, following your passion. How important is that for people to do?
I like it that you bring up the word passion because I think it is one of the most important factors for when you are choosing your career path. Of course, passions can change. We change with age, with our journey. Life changes us and throws us challenges. So sometimes it's not always up to us. But I think, yes, I think a grounded and solid basic education is important. Go to school, finish your GCSEs or A-level, however far you want to take it. Get as much as you can. But then eventually, I think you really have to follow your own voice and heart. Parents can give advice, but it's ultimately your life. And I would always say, follow your passion. We are different. It's different these days. When I grew up, or especially the generation of my parents, you didn't change career that often. It was actually not very much looked upon well. It sort of meant you're either tricky or you don't get on with people if you constantly do a job hopping. But these days, people say 2 years here and that agency, then they go there, or they change profession full stop. So it's much more transient way these days that you can choose your career. So I would always say, follow your passion first. My son wanted to do politics or astrophysics first. And then he completely changed and said, no, I'm not doing that. Actually, I really want to do music. Say, good, do it. If it doesn't work out, or if it doesn't fulfill you the way, you can still go back to politics. I think you have to do something every day, do it with a passion. And that's the advice I can give. Of course, it's not always easy for parents to support all decisions that children make, because they always, as a parent, you have the security wish for your child, that it's well provided, that it's in an environment that is safe. But at the end of the day, it's the child's life, and sometimes you have to let them as well make their own mistakes, because you can talk yourself into oblivion to convince them of something. If they don't want to hear it, they don't want to hear it. So you can just be there, guide them, rescue them, and say the door is always open. You can always come back, and we're there with you to go for the next choice.
Thank you.
Thank you. In fact, we discussed some of what I'm about to speak about now, but I'm still going to bring it up. That you have a current album out with James Pearson, which is really, really, really lovely. And we will play the clip in a bit. Isn't James Pearson, he's a music director? Is he from the...
He's the music director of the very famous and legendary jazz club in London called Ronnie Scott's. I mean, he's a legend himself, James Pearson. He's classically trained like me, which is wonderful. We have that in common. And he too is just venturing into a different genre, and he does it really, really well. And the amazing thing is the way we recorded the album was really, I wanted it to have that feel and fresh feel, which you can only do in jazz, because in classical music, everything is written out and you have to follow it. While in jazz, you can sort of go with the flow, you can improvise, you have to sort of follow each other. So it's very intimate sort of teamwork, how you normally play this jazz sort of music. And so James and I really only decided on the key we were singing, and I didn't want it to be too high because I didn't want to use my classical voice. And then we just literally winged it. I mean, we recorded it sort of on the spot, which was actually quite funny in the way when it came to the album launch. The album was printed and everything, and then the journalist would give him the album. But then I said to James, how do we actually reproduce what we recorded? Because we did it in the moment. So we listened to the album a few times more to get as close as we could. But it was a one-off, unique recording. So there's no music written out so we can reproduce it. But we can get as close as we can. But that's special, that it is really that live feel.
That's fabulous to actually just do it and have that. That's it. That's the edit. It's
and sometimes James took the lead and I followed him, and sometimes I took the lead and vice versa. So it was very, because you have to really listen to each other, which again you have to do as well in the classical leader song recital, because it's so intimate. It's just the pianist and just the voice. There's nothing, and you have to sort of follow each other. Very beautiful process.
So Somebody Loves Me, the songs of Gershwin, and obviously you've spoken about Gershwin. I love Gershwin myself as well. So I was absolutely, I sort of was wondering why Gershwin, but obviously speaking about it previously, I get it. I think there's probably nothing more to add to it in a way, unless you do have anything. Because I wanted to know why you chose that. But
because of that one music teacher, and because it's always stayed with me. I think Gershwin's songs are really timeless. And Gershwin initially wrote originally for the piano. All his songs are piano and vocals, so a very classical format. And that certainly intrigued me, because actually, sort of 20 years ago, I did a Gershwin album with a jazz trio, and that was all very doom, 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 doom. They all trailed off for 5-10 minutes with their solos. But this time I wanted it really in that classical format, so just the voice and just the piano, because that's how Gershwin originally wrote for. And it brings out the lyrics most beautifully, and the talent for melody that he had and for harmonies and chords are just exceptional. So that is why I chose to do it this way. And I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, really love it, actually. I really personally love it. I think we do have a clip, so I think it'd be great to play that clip. I think Dr. Jacalyn, you've got that. So
I'm clutching at straws just because I may meet him yet. Somebody loves me. I wonder who. I wonder who he can be. Somebody loves me. I wish I knew. Who can he be? Worries me. For every man who passes me, I shout, hey, maybe you were meant to be my loving baby. Somebody loves me. I wonder who. Maybe it's you. For every man who passes me, I shout, hey, maybe you were meant to be my loving baby, baby. Somebody loves me. I wonder who.
Oh, that brought back so many memories.
Wow, that looked like it was a lot of fun to make. Absolutely
It was.
beautiful. Beautiful.
No, it really was. James,
I'm surprised he could play the piano at all.
You should have seen me at the actual album launch at Ronnie Scott's. I ended up sitting on his lap. But it was very funny.
Oh, absolutely
but it was so
beautiful.
funny actually during the actual album launch at the club. Because when you sing "Somebody Loves Me, I Wonder Who" in that line, somebody's mobile phone went off.
Yeah.
It was so funny, and I just, in the spur of a moment, said, "Oh, that might be him calling." It was so funny. No, it was very, very lovely time. And again, that album was sponsored by Alpha Club, who since have launched their own record label. So my next album, I will be actually producing with the Alpha Music record label. And very excited about it because it's going to be very famous and lovely, well-loved movie highlights, soundtracks from, Godfather tune and lovely, lovely Romeo and Juliet, the old Zeffirelli. So beautiful, beautiful songs will be on there. Bit of Ennio Morricone. So can't wait to do that too. Exciting times.
We're excited for you. Somebody Loves Me, the songs of Gershwin, are available on Amazon and iTunes. That's the best way for people to purchase, correct?
Yeah, it is on Amazon. Of course, you can as well subscribe to the YouTube channel where you can listen to it for free, which is hard to say these days. I mean, all these streaming platforms are really making it hard for artists to actually, sell their albums unless you are Adele or some big star who has millions of streams. They still make money from Spotify. But, you know, artists who have the occasional album out, it's really hard. I mean, it's great as a sort of marketing tool and your name is out there. But for companies or labels to put the money in their hand to actually produce an album, a quality album, you're not making that back from your streams from Spotify. So, you know, it's still a problem, but who knows? I think there will be changes again coming as well. So, but it's, you know, don't go on Spotify, go on Amazon and iTunes and buy it. So, yeah. And so the next thing is, of course, yeah?
Sorry, I was just going to say, I'm sat here very quietly this afternoon.
I noticed that.
You're loving it, aren't you?
Because I'm absolutely adoring everything that you're doing. And it's put me in such a peaceful, such a high-end place this afternoon, so thank you. From someone who loves your type of music and your voice as well, that's fabulous this afternoon, so thank you. Thank you for that. But
thank you. Very, very lovely to say.
The reality is, you are such a busy lady by the sound of it, because you're doing all the music, you have a family as well. How do you manage to bring all those aspects of your life together? And what's the secret of becoming Friederike?
I think the secret is that I never questioned when my children were little that they come first. So I was never torn or anything. I have that gift, the present that I've been given, my voice, I've refined it, and I love it with a passion. But when I chose to have my children, which I had fairly late, I had my first child age 32, you know, that was for me clear that they would come first, especially as I had then moved to Britain and new country. It was a lot to get used to. But, you know, when the kids got older and I had more free time, I've never stopped, of course, singing. I did choose selected events, but I wasn't traveling as much or all of that. So definitely kids came first. But then, you know, as I said, it's a passion. It's so me, the need to sing, that I couldn't keep the lid on for that much longer. And then I just, you know, started pretty much in 2017, I think it was. I just started again, and without an agent, without PR, anything. And within a year, I found myself in the Royal Albert Hall, and I was just so happy. So being back, it's like I was a little bit like a fish out of water. And suddenly I was just swimming again, being surrounded by what I love the most. And it's just, it gives you such energy. And then, of course, you know, very shortly, 2 years later, COVID hit us all. And I think it showed during lockdowns across the world, there were so many people who were really overwhelmed and anxiety took over, and that was awful to watch. And then I saw that as well in my surroundings, close friends and whatever, they struggled. And I said, I'm not going to get beaten by this. I just started singing concerts for my neighbors in my front garden and put my sound system out. And I did weekly concerts all through the summer. And neighbors, of course, that was still proper lockdown, were sitting on their balcony. They couldn't come or anything. So it was really, really special. And I've just done one again last week, or just last week. And it just keeps going, because a lot of people still are a bit scared to go to concerts. They started in London. We are opening again. And I think, as well from my experience with the Royal Albert Hall, backstage, we were all checked. We all did the test. Once, twice, three. Every rehearsal we were tested. So it is so safe to go to these places now. The checkups are so enormous, as well from the venue side of things. I mean, it is really, really, if you go and get your vaccination, of course, that's the most important thing. Get double vaccinated. And then you can start really going out and enjoy these events again. It's important that we all start moving on and allowing concerts to happen and fill the auditoriums. And music is so important. We cannot be without live music. It's essential for so many people.
Thank you for sharing that. And, it's just amazing seeing you on stage singing and dancing. It's just so romantic and elegant, and you're so graceful. And yet we talked about there's so much hard work, and yet your main focus is your family and your charity, being charitable. What advice would you give to young people who are looking to follow in your footsteps?
As I said, I think it's your passion, do follow it. But I think at some stage we all need to live of what we do. So it becomes a job. It starts as a hobby and then it becomes a job. So eventually you have to live off what you need to earn money to provide for yourself. Because I think we've moved on from times where we just got married and then had somebody providing for you. So you have to be able to live from what you do, and but have that reality check that you can, and otherwise be adaptable. If you love music, it's not just the performing sector that you can choose. As I said, there are the amazing people in the background, from sound technicians to recording technicians to lighting. There's PR jobs. They're all in the art world. There are many, many jobs that can bring you close to the music passion that you feel. I would just definitely follow your passion, but do have the odd rain check and reevaluate where you are compared to everybody else, and if there's a place for you in that world.
Brilliant, thank you.
Friederike, you've got this amazing effervescent character which just comes through. It comes through the screen. So, I mean, obviously seeing you live is spectacular. And I can see you love what you do. So that gives you your drive, and you can see that it's very strong. But have you overcome any challenges to be where you are now and ongoing? If you're able to share anything with us, that would be lovely.
Oh yes, no, absolutely. I mean, I think the challenges in life make you literally who you are. The good things just enhance who you already are, but the challenges that really refine you and give you the strength overall to pursue life. I lost my brother at the age when he was 32. He died of lymphatic cancer. That was horrendous. I was in the middle of big events in Germany, and I actually was told by a news reporter that my brother had died. So that was very tragic, and threw me for many, many years. I lost even my voice for half a year because I was so traumatized by it. But well, another very big challenge was, of course, having a divorce in London after a marriage that didn't go very well. In fact, it went really, really badly, and it affected me and my children. And we went for years of court hearings, and it was really, really, really exhausting. And during that time, I couldn't sing because my children needed me. I needed to get through all of this, and but we did get. We have amazing friends. I really have amazing, amazing friends, and they all know who they are. I couldn't do anything that I do without them. But I have as well amazing children, and I think as a unit, the three of us are quite exceptional. We talk about everything. We're very open. Sometimes it's sort of more sort of like a friend rather than a parent-child relationship. Of course, not when they were little, but now that they're sort of 18 and 20. I think they grew up very quickly, given what we've been through with the very traumatic, abusive marriage that I was in. And getting out was difficult. It was no longer safe for us. So we really needed to act, and together we did it. And I'm immensely proud of them and grateful to my friends and whoever helped us. And these things do shape. I don't take for granted anything in life, least of all my family or my friends. And anything else that I do is just an additional gift. And I think these experiences as well, I think if I hadn't had music, even though I wasn't touring the world at the time, I still had music in my life, and I did the odd concerts. And I think music just kept me sane through lockdown, kept me sane through the death of my brother, kept me sane through my divorce. It's just such a tool to release stress. And because you give to others, I always find that if you go through really horrible things, if you still have a bit of strength left, focus on giving to others. It really helps. It puts your own problems in perspective. And I think music and my friends will help me through really, really difficult phases in my life.
And Friederike, I know you do a lot of charity work, and a lot of it at the Albert Hall as well. So two things really is, what does it give you personally when you know you're helping people? But secondly, just as a thought as well, is there favourite concert venues for people like yourself? Because the acoustics at the Albert Hall, I think, were designed for singers like you. Do you believe in that?
I mean, yes, of course, the Royal Albert Hall in London is an exceptional venue, and to have sung there now 3 times I'm extremely lucky. But it depends on the setup. You know, some private corporate. I mean, Alpha Club, for example, did one of their Christmas annual balls at the Museum of Natural History in London, and I was walking down these amazing grand staircase with that massive whale hanging above me. It was out of this world, and the acoustic there is of more like a cathedral acoustic, given that it's this big Gothic museum. You can't say you have a favorite. I think they all depend as well on the circumstances. Like, I can't say I have a favorite repertoire or style of music. They all come to beautiful moments in their own right. But I always want to sing at the Carnegie Hall, so I might come over the pond at some stage. In fact, I'm actually going to be in New York next year for the Queen's Opera Theatre with my lovely friend Brian Gill, who is director there, and we're doing some Gershwin with James Pearson in New York next year. So this is exciting. And maybe I just organize an evening extra at the Carnegie Hall while I'm there. You have to have sort of mad ideas. I think people always think, she always has these crazy ideas, but unless you have those, nothing is happening. Especially if you don't have a manager or an agent. I'm like a hamster in my brain. It never stops. I have all these ideas to connect that person with that person, or I just love networking, which is why I think I'm a fairly good ambassador, because I can visualize who would be good for who and why they could help. And I love that a lot. I'm a big people person. Again, it's the teamwork that I love, and you can't do teamwork on your own. You need people. Venues like this are amazing, of course. And charity work has always been, as I say, I don't really put so much focus on myself. I've always been thinking probably more about others, which in my private life has become very fatal for me, which is why I ended up being in an abusive relationship, because, I'm so giving. I wanted to help that person to get better rather than seeing the danger it has eventually put me in. And it took a while for me to get out, but I did eventually. So I think that giving nature is just simply who I am. And so it's not a long stretch to think that I would do a lot for charity. And it is just a beautiful thing to do on whatever level. It doesn't have to mean you support some huge organizations or give a lot of money. It could be that you sit in a park on a bench next to an elderly person, and don't go to the next bench, just go and sit down next to that person and strike up a conversation. And maybe, there's so much loneliness around us. Maybe that person is for the first time recognized in that day, and that is so important. Or sometimes I walk past the street and say, I love your lipstick with the red head or something. So people are recognized, because especially in cities, I think you can get lost very quickly. So that sort of charitable, or it's more caring attitude. I think if we all just do a little bit more caring around us, it doesn't have to be the grand gesture. I always tell my children, it's not necessarily the big bunch of flowers at Mother's Day or whatever that I need. I need the little gestures in everyday life. That's what matters, because that matters as well in your relationships later. If you're taken for granted all year and then you get the one diamond ring at Christmas, it doesn't really matter much anymore by then. And so I think that's the attitude I live by, and I have hopefully passed on as well to my children.
Thank you so much for your transparency, and I'm just really enjoying this opportunity to get to know you. And I think it's important that we started with, there you are on the stage, glamorous, gorgeous, dancing, and yet you've overcome so much, and you're so strong. And I just really appreciate you, and thank you for sharing your story. And I'm sorry about the loss of your brother as well.
Thank you.
We do have a comment from Brian. Thank you for the
Brian.
shout out.
I can't wait to see you. You can come back to London now. He came to London not long ago and he had to quarantine, but well, now I can come over or he can come back. So we keep plotting, Brian.
That's fantastic. And you've worked with so many amazing people, and I hear that you're about to work with the Italian actor Bruno Maccalini, and you're doing a tour in 2022, and we'd love to hear more about this.
Yeah, that was one of these things that came out of lockdown, because I did one of the virtual duets, like so many artists did, and we recorded that on our phone. I sang it with a wonderful baritone from Panama, and Bruno did see that, and he asked me, how do you do that? And so I said, well, you do it just on your phone, and you just sing, have headphones in, and the app does the rest. So and I said, do you want to do one? And he said, yeah, let's do one. But because he's an actor, not a singer, although he sings really lovely, as it turns out now, I said, okay, let's choose something you're comfortable with. And of course, the Caruso song was very, very fitting. So we recorded that and we put it out on social media, and people loved it, just because they were so mesmerized by the fact of the combination of Bruno and myself, and to hear an actor suddenly sing publicly, which he hadn't done before in that sort of, on that scale. And suddenly we had offers coming from German producers that I used to work with before. I like the combination of the two of you. Do you want to do something more proper with this? We said, yes, we really loved this experience and we think our voices go well together. And so we started having a show written for us. Somebody in German, Mavis Production, which is one of the big touring agents in Germany, production teams. So we have a show written, a show called Amore. So love is in the air. And it's a beautiful story about two people. We're playing literally ourselves. And we invited on the TV show to talk about the theme of love, the topic of love, and why the Italians and Germans always are in love with each other. And it's a very, very cute storyline. And we sing a lot of songs in the show, which are sort of all the Dean Martin era, sort of Unforgettable, and all these lovely songs. So we're very excited about that. But of course, because of COVID, it all got delayed. So it's now autumn 22. Depending on how Germany is doing with vaccinations and everything, but 22, and we're launching an album as well that comes out with all the songs from the show. So very excited about that.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's amazing. All because of one duet in lockdown. I mean, who would have known this duet will lead to a tour and an album, and yeah, and a number one in the German Christmas charts, because Bruno and I released a single for charity in last Christmas in Germany, and it's called Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, and we recorded that under really bizarre lockdown conditions. I think we had 2 hours in the studio. It was just in and out. It was amazing, and it made number one in the classic charts in Germany. So that was really lovely. So people supported that, and so we can't wait to come up with a full album.
Well,
exciting.
Congratulations, and we look forward to seeing it, because everything comes out. You look fabulous, you sound fabulous, and you have explained how you look after yourself and detail, etc. And obviously you're so enthusiastic. I love the way that you just can't wait to get on stage, whereas some people will be so nervous and they won't be able to actually get on stage, and they'll be, and all the things they have to go through. You're ready to just run on there. So, I mean, I was going to say, how do you get yourself revved up? But you don't need to, do you? But you.
Yeah, it's really like, when you're a child and you can't wait for Christmas to see your presents. You run into that room and open that door. That's sort of each time how I feel, even my age, to get out on stage. I just can't wait.
That's so lovely. It's so lovely to here, special. But also, how do you keep your voice in good health? Very important, I would think.
Well, I do, of course, because I sing so much as well during lockdown. I did my regular concerts, so there is always singing. And because a lot of these things are these days with microphone, where you actually don't really strain your voice. I mean, microphone, you can sing 3 hours, quite frankly, at least I can. But that is maybe because I am a trained classical singer. If I was to sing an opera production in 2 months' time, I would have to start now regularly every day, do all the all the lovely things we do that nobody hopefully ever hears, to enable to train the muscles, because it is, we spoke about the Olympics. Proper classical opera singing is like an Olympic sport from a physical scale. People forget that. As Ian said, you have to project across a full orchestra, and I'm talking sometimes, I don't know what the biggest orchestra sizes are for orchestration when you sing Wagner. You have to sing very loud and for a very long time. So it is a physical, it's a muscle training. It's your diaphragm, it's all here, how you project. Everything has to be minusculely organized, how the voice, the vowels come out of your, where they sing French is more nasal, all of it's really a knowledgeable thing to know. So yeah, for classical, I would have to really be trained very differently again. Again, if I do a leader recital, it's slightly different, but the minute you have to really project, it's very, very physical. But you know, musical and all of that with microphone, of course, it is still physical, especially if you're acting on stage, which I actually was reminded again when I was singing at the Albert Hall, when you saw me waltzing. Normally you sing, but then I had to sing, dance, and then sing again. And I was a little bit puffy and pumpy, I have to admit. So, you know, it's a challenge, and you need to be physically fit for that. But yeah, I sing a lot every day. And so I think I'm just naturally in training.
And Friederike, we've touched on some of your ambitions and some of your dreams and some of the things that you want to do. What's the craziest thing you've ever done in singing, do you think?
Oh, I think being in Afghanistan in the NATO war camp, definitely. I think actually on the day of my concert, I sang a few concerts in the camp. I stayed over 10 days there because I didn't want to just fly in and out. I went there because I really wanted to spend as well time with the soldiers and get to know them and the different, they had the Air Force, they had the troops, and of course NATO, they had all different countries represented there. On that day when I was singing in that hangar, there was actually a bomb attack bomb explosion in Kabul. We were not personally affected because we were luckily further away from it and in a sealed camp. But there was a casualty come in to the camp afterwards because it was a German volunteer who had worked in Kabul in a school, and he was brought into the camp and then flown out with us, sadly, back to Cologne to the military airport base. And I have to say, having that casualty below us in the plane, knowing there's a coffin with a young man who's lost his life to one of these horrible atrocities, it was really, really moving. And even the military camp was shattered by it. We should be used to these sort of things, but of course, every person lost is one too many. And so on the plane, I walked to the front of the cockpit and asked if I could sing Amazing Grace, if I could do a minute of silence to, you know, honor that young man below us. And so I went, he gave me the intercom, you know, the telephone where they normally announce the landings or whatever. And he made an announcement that I was to sing Amazing Grace and that we would, you know, do a minute of silence for this young man. And I was singing Amazing Grace through this intercom. And of course I couldn't see because I was sort of in the first class area, separated by curtains. And I was later told by my crew, sound crew and friends who came with me to Afghanistan, that everybody on the plane had stood up, from general to normal soldier, and it was incredibly emotional. Yeah, and then when we landed in Cologne, you saw the parents in the black car coming onto the tarmac, and collecting their son, and I was emotional. So yeah, that's why we support the military, because they really do amazing things for us and pay the ultimate sacrifice, and that's why I wanted to sing for that man. Topic change, please.
Thank you so much for being so honest and sharing your story. I mean, it's really heartfelt, and your words of wisdom, amazing. Gosh.
Yeah. Well, as a parent as well, you feel very different, because you can imagine it's your son, it's your daughter. It's just, yeah, it becomes very real if you experience. It's different if you see this on the news, but if you're actually there, it's, yeah.
I mean,
so definitely Afghanistan was a very special experience. Life-changing.
I've worked in war zones myself, so I know how hard it is to actually sort of do these things. But you bring a sense of beauty then, and you bring a sense of peace and tranquility, hope, you know, with everything that you do.
And as well, share that, you know, they're not forgotten far away from their home country, that people come out and think of them. As well, you know, I mean, it was organized by the German Bundeswehr. And of course, with our history in Germany, there is very little national support in the media or whatever for the troops, although they're still in the peace mission in Afghanistan. And when you compare it to Britain, it struck me when I came to Britain, there's Help for Heroes, there's the Royal British Legion, there's a whole lot of them, and the flags are waved. Of course, we don't have that in Germany. So for the soldiers who serve with the German army, it's very hard, because there's very little they can be proud of still, because it's still a difficult topic, of course. And I had a soldier in the camp in Afghanistan crying, telling me, you know, if he's wearing his uniform in Germany on the streets, he gets set up. And that is shocking. I think we all have come a long way since the Second World War, and hopefully all learned our lessons. And yeah, I think this shouldn't happen anymore, to be honest. People who serve, they serve, and they're individuals. They're above all their mothers, their sons, their fathers, their daughters. They're people, and people needed to be treated with respect.
Absolutely, and you bring humanity and beauty together, you know, and I think that's probably one of the most important things. And for someone who loves your type of music and loves your type of voice as well, I've been enamored this afternoon. It's been one of the most joyful programs I've been on in a long time, so thank you.
Thank you, that's very lovely to hear. Thank you so much. Well, I really love what I do, and I think it's amazing that you created this show as well in lockdown. Sorry, I have tears still running down my eyes. You know, likewise, I mean, so innovative, creating, making something out of a really difficult situation. I admire people like that. And, you know, it's connecting people via the internet and bringing people together, sharing stories. I think it's amazing what you do. So thank you for having me on this amazing program.
Thank you.
It's been our pleasure.
When I'm back in London, we have to have a team, the three of us.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
We will. And when I come to New York, we'll meet too.
Yes, absolutely. I would love that. Friederike, we do have one additional clip, which is of your Christmas concert live stream with Rod Stewart, Robbie Williams, and Katherine Jenkins. Oh. Anything you'd like to say about that before I play it?
Well, that was an amazing opportunity. I was asked by Nile Rodgers to join this virtual Christmas stream, because again, it was for a charity called North of Robins, and they do something really, really important. They do music therapy for people who really are through their life illnesses, what they have, withdrawn from normal communication skills. So they either cannot communicate, they're kind of trapped in their body. And with the music, because music reaches all of us, not just, you know, heart, it actually really, it reaches people in coma. It's so strong. So these patients are treated with music, and they suddenly come out of their shell. It is beautiful to watch. It really is. If you have time, go on North of Robins and check out their work. So a lot of important artists have come together for years to support their annual Christmas concert, which was globally streamed. And I was singing the Ave Maria, I believe it was, from Bach, you know. And no, it was a great honor to be part of that, because it's something really, really special. And it shows the power of music, how it reaches all of us.
Let's take a look.
Thank you.
We're all sat here feeling very emotional.
The Ave Maria is beautiful. I mean, it's just such a stunning composition. It really is. And it's, as you say, it's emotional. It really, really gets oh, what a lovely performance. Well, thank you, Philip. Well, yeah, no. It's a beautiful, beautiful tune. And I was fortunate enough to sing it. So, yeah, I feel like Christmas now. It's strange. I imagine snow.
Well, what a beautiful way to close out the show. And thank you so much for spending all this extra time with us. We really appreciate it. We're very happy for you. What is the best way for people to reach out to you and follow your work?
I'm very active mainly on Instagram. So if you follow me on Instagram, I will announce all my concerts always on Instagram first. I have a Facebook artist page, all under my name, Friederike Krum. There is as well, of course, my website. But otherwise, yeah, I think Instagram is the main way to see what I'm up to and to stay up to date with concert announcements. So follow me.
Fantastic. And for people who are listening on the radio, you can go to Friederike's website, which is her name, www.friederikeekrum.com. And on Instagram, oh, I'm sorry, .co.uk, sorry. So it's her name.co.uk. And where are you on Instagram for people who can't read the banner?
It's as well at Friederike Krum. So my lovely German complicated spelled name.
And to purchase Songs of Gershwin on Amazon and iTunes.
Yes.
Wonderful.
And I hope you like them.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you here.
No, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed talking to the three of you across the globe. It's really wonderful. Really, really lovely having had that chat with you, and all these smiley faces and seeing you, move to my waltz music. It's really lovely. Well, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed talking to you all. And hopefully we'll in person one day.
We will.
Absolutely.
Good. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
Enjoy your time with your family.
I shall. Thank you so much. Likewise. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye. Thank you. Fantastic show. Thank you so much for bringing two wonderful guests. I think this is a new record for our show, over 2 hours. So 2 hours and 10 minutes. So definitely amazing. So we have to wrap up because the Underdog Show is right after this. So Ian and Helena, what would you like to leave with our audience for today?
I think probably the thing for me is music can heal divisions. Music, and especially beautiful singers like that, and the wonderful people that we've had on the show over the past few weeks now. I hope that we can actually show that positive methods of bringing value to people, anybody can do it. Anybody can create great values for themselves as well.
And also just a simplicity. Kindness always wins. Kindness always wins. And, Friederike viewed that with her interview, being so great, but humble as well. So I think that's...
And thank you, Noleen, as well, for her one. Because, again, such a young lady, but such a great entrepreneur woman. So it's been a wonderful show.
Hasn't it? The total show's been great. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I look forward to seeing you next week, and well done. I know how much work goes into your end of it, and I really appreciate you both.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
See you next week. We'll speak soon.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye. Our show, The Underdog Show, is going to start a little bit later. And so instead of it starting 11 minutes ago, it's going to start in 19 minutes right here. So do stay tuned. Our guest is Dr. Saf Buxi, and we will be back with him to hear his story of being an underdog and also all the people that he's helped throughout the course of his life. So once again, thank you to Ian and Helena. Thank you to our two lovely guests. And thank you for watching and for engaging and participating. We really do appreciate all of your comments and your just participating during the show. It means a lot. We'll see you later. Bye.